at the very outset, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to come here and address a whole load of men and women. I have to put the men first. To all of us, she is Didi, Usha auntie to some of us. Before we even start, I want to tell you a little story from my childhood. I was a little girl in white shorts and a white shirt sitting in Delta School. In the front row of this beautiful Dutch building, on the teak floorboards, we had our class full. And I watched, I think my whole class watched, you come in with a guitar and a broad-bordered handloom sari. I see the broad borders haven't changed. And I think we will all never forget the first song you taught us, Hum Honge Kamyab. The feeling of national pride that you put into us as little children, unbeknownst to you, you have actually made a little army of patriots. I can speak on behalf of my classmates, some of whose wives are here actually. So I can actually say that. Thank you so much. You have done the nation a great service.
Thank you so much, really.
Thank you. So warm welcome to Anjali, my dear friend whom I've known for 20 years, and this little girl whom I've carried. I'm not going to embarrass you further.
Diwia, you've known me for how many years?
I think 20.
I'm a very good friend of yours.
Yes.
I'm not going to be your friend anymore if you don't accept my request on Facebook. I'm sick and tired of this game we play. We've been playing it for so long. So Diwia Thomas, if you do not, Indu is another victim of yours. If you don't accept us today, we're going to talk about you a lot.
It's true. 15 years and I haven't accepted it. Okay. Just sort of skimming over the entrepreneur side of it, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs here waiting to hear from you. You have chosen a completely out-of-the-box method of entrepreneurship. The normal ones, or rather the mainstream ones, being manufacturing and the service industry. I understand that you have a recording studio in Calcutta. You have been singing on stages all over the world. We all want to know, how do you manage this?
That's such an original question. Namaskar, namaskaram, sat sri akal, salam alaikum. Let me start at the beginning so that she doesn't have to ask any more scripted questions, right? And let me tell you how wonderful it is to be a part of this evening, mainly because it's special people, really special people who are here in front of me. All of you who've seen me grow up from 1969. And it's really exciting for me to be able to say that my daughter is here, and my granddaughter as well. I can't even begin to tell you that each of you, even though you were not born, some of you have not been born at that time, I can't even begin to tell you how much you have been a part of my success story or my journey for 50 years of singing, because your good vibrations have brought me to where I am, your ashirvadam and blessings, without which I would be an absolute zero. Really, for me, it's an honor to be here, a part of all of you. And for all of you to sometime or the other say that you knew me would be my biggest bonus and biggest award. I'd like for all of you to know that when she asked me, I've done lots of things out of the box. It must have been a hell of a big box. Right? But yes, it's been out of the box, but really it's been nothing great or out of the way, because nothing was like, as you call it today, strategy, planning, and positioning. It just so happened I come from a very middle-class upbringing. My father was in the police. I come from a family of 6 children, and obviously very, very frugal living. And I think it was high living and simple thinking and high living. It was amazing that we grew up in a, in completely different kind of what shall I say, milieu or atmosphere or ambiance, which people think that I don't belong to. They all think that I must be having about 3,000 Kanjivaram saris and
yes,
so
we do.
much of gold and yeah. Well, I actually am not. I don't have all that. Yeah, and I'm quite Yera actually. Yeah. But,
She
but
probably she doesn't have 3,000 saris now because Anjali's taken 2,000 of them.
I didn't take it. Some of them, the bane of being her daughter is you get unwanted Kanjivaram saris. I don't want them.
How many of you want to go to her house today?
Please come to my
Please
house.
come and take
Please.
them.
Yeah. So being, being on shows like this and being in talk shows like this, it's really frightening. One thing that is frightening is at least it's not in front of me today. That stupid ticker. Can we put that time off? Yeah. Because, you come to listen to a person who's, who's been singing for 50 years. How can I do it in that much of time? It's not possible. Because in any case, I'm not going to stop. So you might as well. Yeah. I'm going to say my whole story and then go. So, very, very out of the box. We grew up with 2 pairs of uniforms, one for the wearing, one for the washing. We had 2 pairs of shoes, one black and one white. I'm sure many of you would come from that background as well. The white shoes they used to call it tennis shoes, and we used to put blanco, correche, we used to put it to make it white. Am I right or am I wrong? Yeah? Yes. Okay. So, but we were very happy with all that. And, today, all of these lovely kids are so exposed to so many things and so many brands. They want this matching with that match and that matching with this match. And it's different. But as I learned, and then as I tell everybody, learn from your children. Because every time I talked about something like this, both Anjali and Sunny would say, Amma, that was then and this is now. So you grow up to learn and to accept that this is the way the box changes, really. And when I started my singing in 1969, I came on without ever learning a note of music, not a single note of music. And it's all given to me by God, yeah. So when I started singing, people thought many years later that this was all planned, that I should be dressed in a Kanjivaram sari, like you said, with a broad border, handloom saris. But that's all I had. I didn't know any other dress. Straight from the uniform, I managed to get into a shalwar kameez for a little while, and then wore a pavada melak, which is what it's called, half sari. And then it was straight into a sari. So I don't remember any other dress except a sari. And I think it's the world's most dignified and graceful dress. So thank God for the sari. And thank God for the wonderful handloom weavers who have woven these marvelous saris. Where is he? Has he gone away?
Ramesh Menon. Yes.
Udipoya.
Illa, undu.
Or as they say in Bengali, paliye gache ki. No. And what about all those Kudumbashree women? I have to have them in the audience. They can't go off like that. Okay.
The Kudumbashree women. Your ladies.
Yeah, there. Okay. Hi. Mobile and... Good news, okay. No, she's getting another client. That's what it's wonderful. So, when I started singing, I knew no other dress except the sari. So I wore a sari because Amma wore a sari, my sisters wore a sari, and my party ma wore a sari. And I'm happy to say that that's all I had, and I was very happy to wear it. And then my first night in a nightclub, I started off in Chennai in a small nightclub called Nine Gems, and that was quite a mistake. And then my big thing happened when I went to Calcutta. And over there, when Mr. Joshua and Puri asked me whether I would sing for them, they wrote me a letter. In those days, there was no mobile phones or no electronic stuff. And, it was just an inland letter which came to me. And in that, he asked whether I would sing in Trinkas in Calcutta and Park Street. And I said, sure, I'd love to sing. And I said, but I don't know how to wear a frock. Yeah. So they said, no, we don't want you to wear a frock. Just come the way you are. We love you just the way you are. So that's how it began. And then when I entered the nightclub in Calcutta for the first time, everybody who was there, including my the only scandal that I had, I say it very bravely today because my mother-in-law is sitting over here. At that time, she didn't think that was such a good idea. But now she thinks I'm okay. Appala, you know, she said, do you know how much of dowry my son is getting? So, yeah, she is just the most amazing mother-in-law anybody could have.
She's
really.
94 years old and she's here. Give her a hand, ladies and gentlemen.
She's really amazing. And I feel so proud and privileged to say in front of her that her son was sitting in the audience in Trinkas. And after the show was over, he came up to me and he said, actually, you were super tonight. Oh, I got so excited. And he was the only scandal I had, and I married him. And he said it to me in so much style. And everybody asks me, how do you remember everything that he says? I said, I remember so many songs, all the lyrics of the songs. We've been married for what, 47 years? 48 years. And he probably has spoken 48 into 2 sentences with me. So let's have a big hand for the silent, strong Johnny Uthup. So that's how, that was another thinking out of the box, okay? So here I was, in those days nobody talked about it like that. Here I was, a nice Malayali, Nalla Tamil patter, Pattati, as they said, yeah. Pattakariyano. She asked me in those days, Pattakariyano. And I said, yes. It was looked down upon, you know, singing in a nightclub was really bad. Besides being out of the box and out of shape.
You were not out of shape those days.
I was out of shape.
No. When you were in Chinkas, you were not out of shape.
And Johnny, I was so excited when Johnny came and told me, he said, actually, you were super tonight. I said, oh, I love you. I said, I was dying to, you know, really make, I think I did make a pass at him, but it didn't work immediately. So I was really, clap your hands for all the Padmasrees. And after that, what happened after that? I asked him, he asked me, will you sing Matilda for me? Oh, you, Matilda. So I said, okay. And I said, I'll sing for you, Matilda, on Monday. I opened on a Thursday and I said, you come back on a Monday and I promised to sing it for you. No, on a Saturday. And he didn't come. I rehearsed that night and, you know, sang. He didn't turn up. And I was looking at the door all the time and he just wouldn't walk in. And I felt so miserable that Johnny hadn't come. So when he did finally arrive, I asked him, I said, why didn't you come? You know, me, I'm compulsive optimist and full of passion and love. And then there he was, you know, like this. So. It's very stiff upper lip. And I said, why didn't you come? I sang Matilda. I mean, I've rehearsed Matilda for you. So he said, I was up in the gardens. Adi endana garden ennu parayam. TiE, he was working in TiE. So then I got a chance to sit for 2 minutes with him. And I said, what do you do? He says to me, I work in TiE. We come from Bombay, you know, Moody's tea, Brook Bond tea, Lipton's, atre. No, nothing about ranges and this and that and the other. And then when I told him, I said, I don't know which tea company do you work for? He said, J. Thomas and Company. I said, I never heard that before. He said, we don't advertise. So that's entrepreneurship for you. We don't advertise. And I think that's the story of coming from a space where there was no electronic media, there was no, no television, no nothing, no magazines to write about you. And so how does it become entrepreneurial to be able to start singing? Yeah, so I didn't market myself. I didn't market myself. I told you the only scandal I had, I married. So there was no marketing. Are there any takers tonight? I don't know. You'll have to not only fight with my husband's mother, my mother-in-law. My son-in-law is here. My son-in-law's brother is over here. So they're all, and 6 foot, so you have to fight with all of them. But
we've left a little secret.
Dominic is here, Mr.
Ushanti,
Paul.
we've left a little secret ballot paper there. Anybody interested, please put your names down on that.
That's right.
We'll take a swayamvara after this.
And I'm so glad that ticker has gone. So that's one of the things about marketing yourself. You know, I think if you stick to, when people have asked me from Vogue magazine and all, I used to wonder, why would anybody from Vogue want to talk to me, or Cosmopolitan, or any of these wow kind of magazines? And they always ask me, what is fashion all about? And I said, I think it's all about comfort, constancy, and the opportunity or the grit to take your comfort and constancy and the comfort of space you come from forever. Keep changing, keep reinventing yourself, and that's a good way. And that's the way that I think I'm still relevant. I am relevant now, because even the kids now today say, oh, she's so cool. And because I wear Kanjivaram sneakers, if you want to see them, yeah. I wear Kanjivaram sneakers.
Can you give us a little explanation about the Kanjivaram speakers? The sneakers?
Sneakers, yeah.
Sneakers.
Well, that was really out of the box, because I used to, just before Aisha was born, I wanted to become really trim and fit and, you know, wanted to be able to carry her and things like that. So I went on to this amazing walking thing, and I lost a lot of weight. And I also found that many years later, that when I put on weight again, I realized that my knees were giving a lot of problem. So my daughter said, Anjali said to me, why don't you, Amma, if you can wear sneakers in the morning to walk, why can't you wear sneakers in the evening? It doesn't really matter. And so I said, okay, I'll wear sneakers in the evening as well. And then I realized I was back to school days, one black one and one white one. That was too bad. So I said, but you know, in Tamil Nadu, you know, all the mommies, they wear Kanjivaram saris, and you ask them, blouse irkama? Vella Ravika. For everything, they'll wear either a white blouse or black blouse. So like that white shoe or black shoe. So then I decided one day that I was going to get them dressed up in Kanjivaram and match all my saris. And then it was so fabulous that I got these 2 mochis, and she'll tell you about that, how she's done a fantastic thing about it. I got these 2 cobblers from Bihar, and they've done a fantastic job of my normal. It's not that every time I go out and buy a new pair of shoes, but I recycle the shoe. The point is to recycle, not really, because we don't need so many things, really. So I got that, and it looks very suave, and as they say, swag. So everybody wants to have a pair of Kanjivaram shoes now. So truly, it's been fantastic that I could, use Kanjivaram in such a way that people started thinking it was a statement. I mean, it was a fashion statement. So one was that. First one was the sari. Then, of course, came the bindi. And this also was quite, what are the big words you all use? I don't know. Entrepreneurial. Anyway, it's too big for me. So, and too pompous also. Half of the people don't understand. And, you know, I wish at all the TED Talks and Ink Talks and everywhere that I've been, I still do, and that's not good. I should learn how to make a PowerPoint and do it so smartly, and they change the slide, and suddenly you change the slide and something else is coming on. So I don't want to take that risk. So let me tell you in proper words that this kind of made for a better, without a PowerPoint, I found that these guys who made the shoes for me were so amazing. They're just two cobblers in a hole in a wall in Calcutta who made the shoes for me. And it was really, really brilliant. So wherever I went, to whichever motivational speech or wherever I went to talk, and when I spoke about this, nobody believed it. So today, like Mr. Ramesh Menon brought the weavers, I had, for the last Ink Talks that I went, I took the mochis with me. And, everything is a bad word to say, call them chamar or to call them, like you said, they're known as coolies. It's bad to say that they're Dalits or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is that's the way they're treated. I mean, their shoes, you know, you go and buy a pair of shoes and it costs so much money. And how much do they get a day?
They get about 120 rupees for a pair of shoes, which is about 3,500 rupees. And that is if you're getting those shoes remade by them. They have people who come and ask them from factories, can you do certain kind of work on it so it can be, you know, designer logoed and stuff like that. Those shoes go for 7,000, but Mishrida still gets 110 rupees. And they do a shoe a day, that's how much it takes, how much time they take. So where, you know, at the end of 10 days, they would have earned just about 1,100 rupees, yeah.
And that's really sad. So when it came, I mean, from the sari, then the bindis that Adyam, I used to wear chandputtu, like all our South Indian families did. And slowly the shape started changing. And when I started singing, I decided to match my puttu with the sari. And so the colors came. Then Shingar came out. Then the sticker bindi came out. And so I decided to put Ka, the Bengali letter Ka for Kolkata and Ka for Kerala. And I used to paint it on my forehead. And once when I went to Bombay to Benza to buy something or the other, and I'm 100% sure Charlotte was with me at that trip in Bombay. And that man came up to me and said that all the school children and college children want my kind of bindis. So I said, but I just draw them on my forehead. So he said, "Ek aad aise design bana dijiye hamare liye." So I made the design and I gave it to him. And now he's selling it and I'm buying it from him. So that doesn't make me a very good entrepreneur at all because I have no business acumen at all.
Ushanti, if I may interrupt you, the whole day we've been hearing success stories and the gentlemen here have been saying you should have showcased at least one failure. So there you go. The
so
bindi.
so many. After the bindi, then came my flowers. You know, I used to wear mullapu everywhere, all the time. And so when supposing I went off to Rajasthan, I mean, in the middle of the summer, they'd say, "Kya? Aap phool nahi le aaye? Phool nahi pehnenge to kaisa hoga? Kaise show hoga?" As if I'm singing with my flowers, okay? But then it became a part of me and didn't want to... They didn't care. I mean, you know, they just wanted the whole package, the package deal. What do you all call it? In this, yeah, general, what's the word? Come on, all you young girls, you all know what? Package deal. They want to, yeah, that's it, just a package deal. So I had to have the puttu in the security when I'm passing through security and they go with this grr business and they say, "Kya? Aaj tip bhi nahi lagaya tum?" Or if I'm in Bengal, then they'll say, you know, "Kothai go tomar tip?" So I had to quickly take out one ring. Like that. So I have to do it over here as well. So this became, I mean, you know, part of me. The flowers became a part of me. But the flowers have such a beautiful story because there's a mother and her daughter-in-law who make the flowers at home from cloth. And so I could take it to Rajasthan or I could take it to Texas. Or for that, you have to say it in a different accent. I could take it back to Texas, you know, or somewhere else. I can take the flowers there. It doesn't make any... I could do it just like that. Yeah,
but Amma, I think you started wearing cloth flowers because the amount of mullapu you used to wear, it used to weigh down and you used to get terrible headaches and the receding hair. Remember your hair used to
fall like anything. And so I went to this lady and she started making the flowers for me. And by the way, if you really want to give me a hand, but that's a big failure also because I don't know how to make money. I don't know how to, in the Kurian, nobody's giving no money, no nothing. We're just here. Nanna kaiye tattunga. Only because you see, once you're coming to anywhere in Kerala, you will realize that if you become either Marthomite or Jacobite, the whole world is related to you. So today my son-in-law's cousin is related, so I'm here for that. There she is, Tangam. So, you see, this was another failure. I gave these... No, not knowing Tangam. The flower. The flowers I have given to you. As I take their names, you can clap really loud. I gave the flowers, recommended this lady to Hema Malini for all her ballets. So whenever you see all those lovely flowers on all the dancers, there was Mamta Shankar, there was Tanushri Shankar, there was Sonal Mallika Sarabhai, there's Sonal Man Singh, all and Tangamani Kuti in Calcutta. Everybody but everybody uses these flowers. So it's so wonderful. I could have made so much money, but I didn't. So how many more failures do you want to know about this? But let me tell you one thing. In all these women's issues and everybody's fighting, I'm not a woman's liber. Okay, I don't believe in that, and I don't believe that we have to fight for equality. Yes, in certain issues, yes, but we're not talking about that. I don't believe in equality because there are some things that men can do which women can't, and there are some things which only women can do and you can't. So we just stay out of that. And it's so nice to be able to say to a man, look, the reason why there is a woman's issue and the reason why a woman has been raped is you. So you and I stand, look at him, so guilty. It's okay. It's okay, Sare. No, it's okay. Oh, he's actually blushing. Even you. No, you. But then you see, the point that I'm trying to make is that man and woman must work together to face a woman's issue. Otherwise, we're never going to make it. Just a couple of women shouting every day, not going to happen. So I think the sooner we realize that we make it together, the better. And let me tell you, I'm truly, truly proud to say that with so much of pride, I say I belong to Kerala, because I would never have imagined that it meant so much to me to belong to the community. I don't know if any of you can understand somebody who didn't belong to the community and got married over here. And for me, it meant so much that I had to prove to my mother-in-law and to my father-in-law and to the entire community that I belong. And I think that is what is very, very important for any woman, not necessarily Indian or anywhere. I think anywhere in the world, when you marry, I think the most important thing you have to understand is that you've got to marry the family first. Yes. What do you clap? Yeah, and we're very lucky that in Kerala, at least, we have big walls, you know, so you can fight at least privately. But in the big cities where the walls are so thin, you can't even fight. Because your father-in-law and mother-in-law can hear everything anyway, so don't fight. So I'm talking about being an entrepreneur. I have a studio, which is so out of the box. Because except for the 5 people who can read and write, none of the others can read and write, but today they are the best technicians in the world. In sound and light, and they've been with me for over 30 years, and I wouldn't change them for anything in the world. Nobody.
No staff attrition.
No. So yes, so this is what I say. It's not always about being so well educated or, you know, being able to. It's about being able to pick the right person for the right job. And we have some amazing technicians who, not everybody really says, they all go and take the awards, you know, the singers and I thank my father, I thank my director, I thank so-and-so, and I thank so-and-so. I mean, you know, how about the man who puts the lights, hello, camera, sir, give some good angle. Make me look slim. You know, you know what I mean? If it weren't for the people on the lights and the sound and everything that goes behind the stage, nothing would happen. So I think starting Studio Vibrations for me was very, very important. But more important than that was starting Stagecraft, where we, it's in the 6th year now, where we acknowledge and appreciate only the technicians. Because nobody says thank you to the person who's setting the stage for you. In between so many speakers and so many things that have been happening, the sound has been wonderful, impeccable. Let's have a big hand for them. So I think that is what is so important. And all these things have caught on now. All the big award, Filmfare, IFA, everybody making so much of paisa. And they're all saying now, thank you to the technicians, which is so wonderful. So the point I feel about being a good entrepreneur is really to be able to select the right thing and to be able to reinvent it. Keep reinventing what you started off doing, and I think make yourself more and more relevant. And I think relevance is very, very important. And I'd like to tell one more story about my husband.
Sure.
No?
We're all ears.
Okay, we're not telling you about my husband anymore. You can ask.
Thank you.
We're all ears. We're all ears.
No. Vanda.
Keep quiet.
We're all ears. Yes, we want to hear.
No.
Anjali.
She says, okay, tell ya. Okay. So, yes, about my husband. Sometimes Anjali asks me, Amma, what did you see in him that you got married to him? And I said, thank God, it's only what I saw, not what you do, not what anybody else saw. But I think, yeah, Valsa has got quite a crush on him, yeah? Ille. But I tell you, it's so wonderful. Let me tell you, age is so beautiful because I've really started living now. People ask me when I go to see a film or something like that, and I just take the help of the seat, just to get up. And there was this really old couple, really with a walker and everything, and he said, "Oh ma, ekhono tumi cinema dekho," which means, oh my God, you're still seeing a movie. So I said, what do you want me to die or something like that? What's it? So I said, what's it got to do with age, going for a movie? And as far as I'm concerned, I've really started living right now. And I don't think age is just a number. So it's so beautiful to be able to say, yeah, when I was much younger, I used to get red-faced. My ears would burn with jealousy if I saw Valsa somewhere. And probably
Valsa, why are you bringing
anybody, not Valsa, not just Valsa,
She calls
else.
him Janiba and thinks he's just the sweetest man in the world.
Of course he is.
You got jealous with a fly.
I got jealous for everything. But let me tell all the wonderful girls over here, please don't waste a single tear because they are just going to do what they want to do. So it's much better that you let them think that they've made the decision, but you make the decision for them. And be quiet about it. I always used to wonder what was the connection between you have a fight and you say, you won't eat. Arre? I'm sure all the ladies empathize with me over here, yeah? But what is that? They don't care because they're going to eat anyway. They're going to eat, they're going to drink, they're going to go to the club, they're going to do everything because men are from Mars and women are from Venus. So don't worry about it all. Don't worry about it.
I can see some of the men in this audience having this eureka moment. I can see our president,
So
Mr.
many.
M.S.A. Kumar, morning he learned this new lesson where he learned that women after 50 take the domineering role, and before 50 they have this play the submissive role. And we saw him sitting, having another eureka moment.
Correct. Where? Oh, that's wonderful. Actually, the women in the audience are my best friend for so many years. No, you later. Let me tell you why. Actually, the women are my best friend because they know with a body and a face like mine, I'm no danger to their husband. You better get it clear. All the women. If I look like any of those,
Valsanti, here's your chance.
then it would have been different. But yes, it's so beautiful to be able to have an audience like you who would understand exactly the space that I come from. And It's been absolutely wonderful. When I say that the entrepreneurs in India are so much more creative and so much more, what shall I say, with it than anywhere else that I've seen in the world. I mean, they have done, maybe abroad they've done lots of things like Facebook and this book and that book and whatnot, Google and all that. But there are people who work with this, I mean, the sons of the soil, and produced amazing things over here, really.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you so much. Coming briefly to Anjali. Anjali celebrates her 25th year as a radio jockey this year. And Anjali, we want you to, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a better hand for Anjali.
Thank you.
25
Thank
years.
you.
She started in Akashvani. Anjali, we'd like you to share your story.
So, like my mother didn't have much of a choice as far as her clothes were concerned or how she grew up, I didn't have a choice actually as far as my career went. One morning she called me and she said, do you want to become a radio jockey? And I'm like, what? You know, people who announce on radio? So I said, yeah, okay. So she took me to Times FM office. It was in August of 1994.
How old were you?
I was 21 or 22. And she took me there and I was sitting in a room and they gave me some CDs. They asked me to talk about some music. And the next thing I know is I went home with 15 CDs and they said, please come to Akashvani Bhavan the next day. And I went to Akashvani Bhavan the next day and we have radio stations now. We had radio stations then as well, but we all had the same frequency. So the same studio from 6 to 8 was 107.5 Times FM. Then it went on to HMB FM, but it was the same room. And when we walked in there, we had spools. So coming from a studio background, being Amma's daughter, I knew what, equipment looked like in a studio. But in the middle of talking a link, and you're talking and you're saying, hello, Kolkata, and today we're going to be somewhere, and I'm playing the song, oh, baby, I love your way. And suddenly it goes, ga, 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 and the CD comes out. Then you have to put the CD back and hold on to the Ahuja mic and carry on. And in one hand, you're redoing the spool so that you can have your, your ad come back on air.
Now I know why you're like this.
Yes.
You haven't stopped.
Not.
This is what Anjali does even now. She's cooking, she's looking after the kids, I don't know what all she does.
No, but then,
tell us more about what
so,
all you do.
And then of course I came to Cochin and, I've been married and sitting over here and wanting to be back
Did you also marry your scandal?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you meant.
My scandal.
No, I didn't marry my
scandal
scandal. He married his scandal. I had no scandal to marry. Yeah. So, and I kept wanting to, go back to radio because that's the only job I know. I don't want to do anything else. I only want to be a radio jockey. And I remember a friend of mine, but also related to my husband, Amit, he was also in radio in Australia. And he told me one day, he said, Ange, if I ever start a radio station, you're going to be on it. So 12 and a half years ago, I go for a meeting. And they say, 13 actually, and they say, you can do this, this, this. And I said, yes. I met old colleagues who worked with me in Times FM. And they turned around and said, but we don't have a show. Why don't you work on the other side? And I said, I don't want to. And then finally, they found a slot on a Saturday night from 8 to 11, called it Kochi Twist. And Radio Mango changed my life forever. And I've been there for, 12 and a half years. By the way, today is my show, so please, when you're leaving from here, remember to tune in to 91.9. It's the most amazing feeling because I think we all have so many different identities, which are nice. I mean, I love being my mother's daughter, my daughter's mother, my grandmother's first grandchild, and my husband's wife, and my aunt's niece, all of that. But I love being Anjali on radio. There's nothing more exciting. I like to be Anjali because I'm not a face, I'm a feeling. You have to feel me on radio. You have to think about me. And I'm thinking about you. And I'm just thinking of you. I don't know where you'd be. You'd be on a railway station, you'd be on a train, you'd be in a bus, you'd be in an auto, you'd just be walking on the road. And that connect that you have with people, and that you could actually change somebody's life by talking. I once had a message from a listener who said, I had just lost myself, but thanks to you, I found myself, and you saved me from a lot of pain. When you get a note like that, an SMS note like that, or you have a listener who wins a prize, and they're not happy with the prize, and the listener's mother comes to the studio, to Radio Mango, and says, we were not happy with the prize. And then that listener's mother ends up being your prayer. She's prayed for me for 12 and a half years. And I met her only 2 months ago. And that was my gift from Radio Mango. Beena and Cyrus, thank you for being here. Yes. So these are things that happen to you because of radio. And Cyrus, thank you for listening, darling. And Beena, thank you. All my prayers come true only because of her, because she really prays. Then I had another friend who once told me, you made my son and me feel so happy. And I'm like, really? And yeah, she said, yes, we were going through a really tough time. Listening to you on radio just soothes us. Do you think that you could play another song for us the next week? I said, yes. And that's how I inherited people like John and Tuhin. John, are you in the audience today? Yes, you are. Hi, John. Stand up and take a bow. So these are people that I have inherited through radio. And I think the feeling, the amazing thing, I love every other role that I play. I swear on God.
Can you tell us something more about the Sunny Foundation and how you got there?
So Sunny Foundation was when we were whacked on our faces with, we didn't even know what IgA nephropathy is, last stage, kidney disease. You don't know anything.
I didn't know what was dialysis, creatinine.
Creatinine, remember?
I really had absolutely no idea.
So, I remember Amma and I always go for these shows, and Amma always turns around and makes this very typically Usha Uthup comments, like, I hope I never have to see you in your profession, and I only meet in a... Don't I sound like Amma?
Actually, in all the shows that I did for doctors, in medicine, from top to bottom, I've sung in every show.
Yeah.
And always said this.
She's always said it, but that day she said it and we didn't know how it was going to turn around. Because there were 2 doctors in that audience. We had gone there for the Mrityu Sanjeevani thing where she was being a brand ambassador for organ donation. And there was a Dr. Philip Thomas and there was a doctor called Dr. Sudhendran. And both are transplant surgeons. One ended up doing my brother's transplant and one ended up doing the fistula for my brother when everything else failed. Philip sends a book to my mother and we all read it. Ha ha, what fun. And I said I could do everything, anything you want to help you. Till the next day I realized that my brother was, with this disease. And the one thing that I realized is that I've got so much knowledge about it and we as a family don't have to fight so many battles. The one battle we have to fight is that Sunny is not well. But now he's okay. Life is not so bad. We can afford his medicines. He must be having dialysis now. We're doing a show, okay? But there are people who fight for, they cannot have a dialysis. If they have the dialysis, they can't take their injection. If they've had a transplant, they don't have money. Each blood test costs them so much. So I said, I'm not going to let this go. So I started Sunny Foundation. I started volunteering. Thank you. I started volunteering and going to different parts of India just to sit with patients because you can give them PowerPoint projections and all those kind of things. But sometimes you need to also rehabilitate a caregiver. Because when my brother went away from Cochin, I was happy, but I had this horrible, ugly monster in myself saying, oh God, he's gone. What are you going to do? So caregivers need attention. I think people who are working with transplant patients and dialysis patients need attention. Dialysis patients, transplant patients really need to do a lot with it. But where do you keep getting money from and what do you do? So I just said, whatever I have, being a so-called good Christian, we were taught that there's supposed to be tithe in your life. So I try to do whatever I can. I have good friends and family who support me. And that's how Sunny Foundation actually came about, really.
Anjali, we also want you to talk to us about the India Diaries.
So India Diaries is a YouTube channel that I have started, and I think that's the only entrepreneur, whatever kind of thing that I've done in my life. India Diaries is where we basically explore the soul and genius of India in Indians everywhere. If you follow me on YouTube today, you will find the story of Amma's Kanjivaram sari, shoes on that as well, where we try to talk to people with different ideologies. But the idea to do that was so that if I start making money on that show, it'll support Sunny Foundation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Shall we all hit subscribe to India Diaries today? India Diaries by Anjali Uthup on YouTube.
Thank you.
We're requesting everyone to hit the subscribe button. And now we come to the boss.
Yeah, she is actually.
I was about to say the apple of Ushanti's eyes. her face lights up every time she sees this young woman. But like she says, the boss. She really is. So, boss, how does it feel to be your grandmother's granddaughter?
Hi, I'm Aisha. And I think this is the one question I've always heard and been
Not
asked.
any original questions
No,
here.
I mean, it's a good question, but I mean, I can ask any of you, how does it feel to be your grandmother's grandson / granddaughter? And like, it feels like being a grandson or granddaughter, right?
But our grandmothers
And-
are not Usha Uthup.
But that's the point. My grandmother to me also wasn't Usha Uthup until I realized that it was not just I who took pictures with her. And I hated sharing her for the longest time. So when I was younger, I didn't realize what being her entailed. For me, she was just supposed to tell me stories and sit with me and feed me vendaka. And so I didn't understand that there were so many other things that came with her. And of course, I'm grateful for it. And of course, I'm so proud of her. Like, that's something that's obviously going to be there. But till date, I think my favorite thing about her is that she's just my grandmother. And I don't think people see that at the end, she's just a mother and she's just a grandmother. And it's so important to humanize, that aspect. And yeah.
That's very sweet. In terms of your career, you're studying, you've picked a subject that you want to major in. Where do you see yourself in terms of career choices, knowing fully well that you can fall upon her legacy, that you sing well, you present yourself well, you have all her support? Where do you see yourself?
So music isn't something that came to me naturally. Up until I was 10 or 11, I enjoyed it, but not as an active participant. I was just a listener. I did participate in talent time in school and all, but winning was not even a thought because I used to croak for the longest time in my life. And so music didn't come to me naturally. I didn't feel the need to follow music or become a singer just because she was a singer or she had the talent to. But around the age of 11, 12, when I started realizing that there were so many other genres out there and that there were so many artists I like listening to, I also started singing. And it never came upon me as a profession. I never felt the weight of like following her legacy or becoming a singer like her. But I never expected music to become so important to me. But along the years, it's definitely one of the most important things in my life. And being able to sing in whatever capacity that I can is definitely, I wouldn't say it's a gift because I wasn't born with it. It's things that you have to work on. And I know even my grandmother said that it's a God-given gift, but it's not. She's been singing for so many years. And I think whatever talent you have has to be worked on. So, and also in terms of career, I would love to become a singer, and I think the ultimate dream is to be on stage. But I've always wanted to be in a field that is both passion involved, but I also know I'm helping people in a certain way, which is why I chose psychology. If you look at recent statistics, you'll find that the present generation, like the youth of today, from 2010 to 2019, are the most depressed, anxious, suicidal, and bipolar people on the planet. And what's so amazing about this is also the fact that we're the most productive people, we're the most innovative people, and we're also the most creative people. So to go into the future in a field such as psychology is something that I really want to do, simply because studying people excite me, understanding people excite me, knowing that each person in this room has a background, has a story, and that's probably shaped them, and the way they go forward in their lives is also shaped according to like their perceptions and things like that. So that's definitely why I think psychology is where I want to go. And it's great because there are things such as music therapy nowadays, where you realize that two things that you love so much can come together. The field that I finally want to get into is criminal psychology, which is another very touchy topic because we don't believe in rehabilitation of people we consider criminals. Because why? They've committed something wrong once, so that's it. Tata, goodbye, never see you again. But the thing is, there are probably things there are so many things and so many capabilities within themselves. We never know what conditioned a person to become a certain way or to act a certain way. We also complain so much about how much money the government spends on maintaining jails and keeping prisoners in there. But if we understood how to rehabilitate them and use that talent or capability for like economic benefits or even for their own rehabilitation, we'd have far less criminals and many more useful people in our economy. So yeah, that's something along the lines.
I so resonate with Aisha because most of my, the women and even men now who make our paper bags reside in jails. And over the last 10 years, I have also come to understand, like her, the jails are no more a punishment facility, it's a correctional facility. So even if they have life imprisonment, he's a human. You have to do something with them 24 hours. He's got to do something with his time before he turns into a hardened criminal. And the kind of rehabilitation efforts that we have going on in our jails right now, whether it's making chapatis or paper bags, so many of them have managed to become better people and not get into the jail nexus while they're in there. To the extent that today PaperTrail buys back bags from Pujapura and Viur Central Jail. There are days that we have orders for 2,000, 3,000 newspaper bags, and I will call the welfare officer and say, "Sare, oru 2,000 bag onnu koduthu vidavo. Madamthinu tharan bag onnu illa ivide ella njangal chappathi irikki kuda angu kodukkuva." They've reached that stage now. Over 10 years of training them, they don't even give me any bags to buy back anymore. And he says what it does to them is it gives them a purpose to wake up to every day. Some of them are really sorry that they are where they are. Some of them are there for no fault of theirs. And it gives them a sense of purpose to wake up to. And the money that they make in the jail, they send back home to their wives and children for their education. Aisha, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of the way you both have raised her.
Just one more thing. I kept hearing as my grandmother spoke that, again, it's a failure in her being an entrepreneur. I don't think she realized as she spoke, but as she spoke of every element that she's wearing and that's made her who she is, she, without realizing, has set upon a cycle of employment. So somebody who previously did not have maybe that many orders for making shoes now is making Kanjivaram shoes for you. So maybe you can say, I'm a failure for not marketing it yourself, but in needing these and by promoting these, you are in your own way helping them. In promoting people who make cloth flowers or somebody who turned your bindis into their business, without realizing you set forward a cycle and you set forward. Exactly. Which is why I always support your local farmer, local weaver, and local talent, yeah.
We're so proud of you, so proud of you. One last question before we wind up the question-answer session. Everyone's waiting to listen to some really rocking music. But one last question. I'm so curious to know, in spite of your busy schedule, you've worked now 50 years, and you've traveled the world. How did you manage to raise such a fine grandchild? I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the grandchild. I'm talking about her. How did you manage to, put in those value systems in Anjali, Sunny, and Aisha? As mothers, we want to know.
Let me tell you something. I mean, Aisha and Riyad are really, really special. And I think one learns so much from grandchildren or children, basically. And in this, I would say, Jani and I have both been so blessed in having two beautiful children like this. I, for one, have learned how to use water properly from my Anjali. Are you Aisha? Sorry. From Aisha. She told me, Umbuka, you don't need so much of water when you're brushing your teeth. Just close the tap. And so I learned how to there are many things that I've learned from her, really, from her and from Riyad. And honesty is something which is so important in children's lives. I mean, I would go on with Aisha and say, tell me you love me, do you love me? I love you so much. And one day she told me, Umbuka, can you change the dialogue?
I must have been really small.
Yeah, really small. And no, they're very honest, because if they don't want to be with you at that moment, it's okay. But the next moment, they'll still be wanting to be with you, which is what I think I've learned from both of them. They're very, very, very special.
But Amma, I also think that, at least for me, I think diversity brings about a lot of different things. I've come from a family where my father's Syrian Christian Malayali, my mother's Tam Bram, and she's from Bombay. We lived in Kolkata. And I think that brings you to a place where you don't have many biases. And I think my children enjoyed the best of two worlds, because on one side they had my parents, who were just like all these people who lived in cities and tech savvy and studio and blah, and had this wonderful human being. 1 minute, ma. And had this most beautiful mother-in-law sitting in Kottayam, who believed that the children did not have to have baths. They were happy to clean the patti, pick up all the, make all the masalas. And so Aisha and Riyadh and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law here as well, their children, they were exposed to a lot. And I think when you're exposed to both sides, it makes such an impact. So for me, I had my Tambram grandparents in Bombay, and then one fine day I told them, how come you don't have Jesus Christ in your puja room? So next day, puja room was Jesus Christ, the crucifix, and after the entire Gayatri mantra that my tata did, and we all had to learn, our Father was said. Okay? And then I came to Kottayam, and today is really special because my grandmother is here, so it's actually 4 generations of Uthup women. 40. So, yeah. And going to Kottayam was another thing, because you learned how to wear whites and beiges and just be the right Syrian Christian girl. But I think all of that was just like a basket you have in front of your cycle, and you just keep putting things into it. So when you finish with that ride, you've just accumulated so much. And I think that diversity has really kind of rubbed off on all of us. Right? I think she's quite happy to be diverse. My son's not. He's a little Kottayam Achayan. I'm only Malayali. I'm from Kottayam.
Yeah, I'm the only Malayali.
No.
Oh God. No, I think that's definitely true. Like when you ask me, how does it feel to be a grandmother's granddaughter? Like both my grandmothers have, like no offense to my grandfather, but both my grandmothers have played like such an important role in like getting me to where I am today. Because like ironically, it was my Christian grandmother who told me all the stories that I had to know about the Mahabharata, about the Ramayana. She also told me about how Islam and Christianity originated from the same place. So recently in college, so being a liberal arts student, you learn a lot of things very irrelevant to your career, but very relevant in terms of how the world works. And we were in this class which basically understands the crisis in the Middle East now. And it goes all the way back to the time when basically monotheism started. So when we went from polytheism to monotheism, and I knew every single story the teacher said in class, and he thought I was so well read. And I really wasn't. It's just that I paid attention to Ammachi's story as a child. And she knew so much, and she told us so much. And I think from both of them, I inherited that. From this grandmother, she would tell me basically to always be... So for example, even before I come onto stage today, and so all of us are nervous, okay? I'm just letting you all know, we're all very nervous. And...
oh God, yeah, she's the worst.
That's what I'm coming to. So before our first performance, I told her I'm really nervous. And I said, it's so unfair. You've done this so many times, but I have to be the one over here suffering because I'm your granddaughter. Now I have to sing next to you. It's not fair to me. And she goes, but I'm equally nervous. And I thought she was bluffing. And then she said this one line without realizing, I would quote her one day, that the day you stop being nervous, you lose your humility, and that's the day you lose your art. And yeah, and so often you think that, you know, we need to start up great things. I mean, of course you do, but it's not, we don't get wisdom from great places always, you know. Sometimes it's just in conversations with your grandparents, and it really guides you a long way without realizing, like without you realizing. Yeah.
So Amma, the one thing that I told you which you couldn't figure out, remember Sandra in the afternoon? The one thing that the fight is over. Your daughter is not as good and brilliant as my daughter. I have a better daughter. Ni podi. So deal with it.
The best thing, I think the best thing that's happened to us in a long time is to have an audience like this, really, to share all our wonderful, really, what shall I say, deep within feelings. And with so many people over here that we've known and grown up with, for me especially, being 50 years in singing already and just 71 years old. Do I get a hand for that? Or what? And really rocking. In fact, it's all just started right now.
The party has started in Trincas. They're having a celebration for celebrating 50 years of Ushanti singing. And in case you didn't know, I was a little shocked when you said that, we think you're Malayali.
Yeah, that's
Like,
wonderful.
I'm wondering why you said that, because I didn't ever think that you were part of
Anything
Calcutta
else,
or
correct.
anything else other
Don't
than
ever
Malayali.
say that in Calcutta, you'll be killed.
Yeah, but I'm
lynched.
So
No,
we
but
want
it's
to
so
start
funny.
the party here.
It's so funny. In Chennai, they all say, when I sing, they say, கொஞ்சம் உங்க ஆக்சென்ட்ல வந்து கொஞ்சம் மலையாளம் மாதிரி இருக்கு. When I sing over here, they say, "Enna pattati." So it's really wonderful. I mean, I say it as a line, but I really mean it when I say I'm Madrasi, born and brought up in Bombay, married into Kerala, now living in Bengal, and some of my best hit songs are in Punjabi. So I'm a Bharatvasi.
But to us, you're Kochi. You're from Kochi. You're our Kochi.
Cochin is magical. For me, Cochin is my entire everything. Because, Johnny and I had our children over here. I mean, both Anjali and Sunny. And for me, Fort Cochin is just unbelievable. And the first time that we came to Cochin, we stayed, we thought it was such a fantastic place. We still think it's such a fantastic place. We stayed in 206 in Casino Hotel. I even remember the room number because, give him a bigger hand. Yeah, because 206 was number 8. And for Johnny and me, we both have 8 as our lucky number.
Amma, how does Appa have 8?
He loves 8. 4. It's my birthday on the 8th. Okay. So look at them fighting with me. Okay, anyway. I think it's wonderful. Actually, when I look back at it all, it's just marvelous. I just want to share just one more small thing with the women, because after, say, 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 days after we got married, we had one of our biggest fights. What a fine fight that was. Wonderful. So I told him, I'm leaving. And I flung everything onto the bed and I walked out of the house. We stayed in a place called Auckland Square. And there was no reaction, of course, from Johnny. Couldn't be boy. I was reading a newspaper. So I banged the door and I walked out of the house. And every time I walked out, I kept looking back to see nowhere. So I walked the square, Auckland Square, 2-3 times. He still didn't come anywhere. I thought, like in Hindi movie, he'll say, Usha, aaja mere paas. Nothing happened like that. So I quietly walked back to him. And that was like 48 years ago. And thank God I walked back to him. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. So I think all the girls in the room will agree with me that it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, you can do it for action, for a little bit, but don't expect them to run after you, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, so don't do it. Just simply enjoy. Correct? Correct in
On that great piece of advice.
No. And on the best piece of advice, I am more Christian than my husband can ever be. For sure.
I'm not saying anything.
No, for sure. Ask my mother-in-law from Atya Lachan to this Achan to that Achan, everywhere. Okay. I know there are ladies standing there to say, okay, go. Oh, good. Oh. You're looking lovely, by the way. Time to finish.
That's her way of buying more time.
Yeah.
Keep standing there. Keep standing there.
And the first time that I ever got a house to live in in Cochin when I came to do, in Kerala, to do a show was Mrs. K.M. Matthew, who came and told me, met me at the airport. I was doing a show for Fine Arts. And it was so amazing because Johnny, obviously I couldn't live with him. I did live with him later without getting married. What a fine fun. But the first time was, in Kottayam when Mrs. K.M. Matthew gave me her home to stay in. So I should always be grateful for that. And really, I think it's just been wonderful. And if I could ever say Ende Keralam, everybody in the world would say Etra Sundaram.
If I waited till this present panel finished their singing, I would have pelted with stones. So I am chancing on this gap to jump in and thank a few people who made this conclave possible. I read somewhere that if you wake up without dreams, you should go back to sleep. Each of our speakers of the day dreamt big, had vision, ideas, and they worked hard on them to make it their destiny. That is the greatest takeaway of TiE Women in Business 2019. I thank each one of them for sharing their stellar success stories. A special thank you to our chief guest, Mrs. Aruna Sundararajan, for coming all the way from Delhi to inaugurate this function. Padmasree Usha Uthup needs a special salute for coming from Calcutta so soon after her knee surgery to drive a point of what it takes to rock an industry. And Kurian, I've never been so grateful that I'm related to you. You are my absolute favorite. Sorry, Alexi. Yeah, sure. This conclave was planned, mentored, nurtured, and taken to this level only with the unstinted support, guidance, and 24/7 hard work of our TiE president, M.S.A. Kumar. Right by his side was Mr. Anandamani, Ajit Moopen, and many of the TiE charter members. The back office of TiE office has been the activity zone for us with Diwia and Nirmal and others supporting us throughout. Thank you very much. Wen has been the partner of this event, and the exuberance you see today is only because of the enthusiasm and hard work of the Venites who registered in large numbers and brilliantly executed every job assigned to them. In these turbulent times, our sponsors went out of their way with their generous contributions in cash and kind. Thank you for one last time, Vismay, ISAF, Startup Mission, KPMG, Shalini Pillai did a wonderful session with us. Thank you, ma'am. Dhanam, Malabar Gold and Diamonds, V-Star, Indian Oil Corporation, Federal Bank, Datri, Asset Homes, Muthoot FinCorp, Synthite, and Destination Kerala. Thank you, Rajiv, Rakesh, and Ergo team for your services in rendering this event so smoothly. The visual impact was done on the LED backdrop by RS Tech Kollam. Thank you. PDS Organic helped us with the artwork, graphics, and the text for all our colorful promotions. Monsoon Empress has been a real find for this conclave, and the team led by Justin, Jean Lal, and Chef Shihab deserve a special word of gratitude. Meera, our MC for the day, has been fantastic in guiding us through each session effortlessly. Ramya and her fleet transported our guests from different locations right on time. Thank you, Ramya. A special word of thanks to the SCMS student volunteers led by Nikhil. A job really well done with energy and enthusiasm. Thank you to the press for giving us such a good exposure through print, online, and air. a word of gratitude to all the delegates, especially to the men for supporting our ideas and vision. The mantle of leadership was born with such dedication, creativity, and tenacity by our chairperson, Sheila Kochausep, supported by the core committee members. A big, big thank you. Thank you for contributing to the success of TiE Women in Business 2019. We hope to definitely see you here for the TiE Women in Business in 2020 because we have really arrived. We will see you soon enough for TiECon 2019 on 4th and 5th October in Hotel Le Méridien. And now before you start getting agitated, the mics are set. Put on your dancing shoes, rock and roll to the music of Usha, Anjali, and Aisha, a 3-generation rock band like never before in India. Thank you.